I had to print off the No Name expansion. It's impressive. I cannot imagine like 50% increase. I'm Josiah.
And I'm Adam. Just kidding, I'm Sydney, and I'm filling in for Adam tonight.
We've got a great guest, Chris Haggerty, representing Monarch. We are thrilled to have the opportunity to kind of delve into who Chris is, what he has in experience, and kind of what's happening up at Monarch. Chris, thank you for being on.
Yeah, super excited to be in here, and thanks for having me.
Awesome. So Sydney kind of put together a little dossier, and I'll let Sydney kind of start off with that and kind of get into who you are.
Yeah.
Cool.
So in my research, it said that you started at Mountain Creek, right, in New Jersey as a lifeguard. Mm-hmm. And that was your foot in the door sort of into your career and eventually into the ski industry. And I was just wondering if you could tell us a little bit about your career, just in general, give the viewers at home a little background on you.
Yeah, so originally from New Jersey, Mountain Creek Resort is like the resort in my hometown. I grew up a mile from there.
Oh, wow.
Literally like right on the street that the resort is on. And it's a year-round resort. So it's got water park, ski resort, zip lines, like weddings, you name it, downhill bike park. So it's kind of that place that everyone, like it's a rite of passage. If you live in Sussex County, New Jersey, you work there. That's where you start your career. So it started as a lifeguard, and if fun fact about the water park that I worked at, if you're familiar with the Netflix documentary that came out a few years ago, Class Action Park, that is the water park I worked at. It was like the #1 documentary on Netflix for a little while. And,
have you seen it?
I haven't, no.
It's known as like the most dangerous water park in the world. When I was working there, that was not the case. This was like back in the 80s and 90s it had that reputation, but if you haven't seen it, go check it out. Some pretty wild stuff happened back then. So I started out then as a lifeguard, and just every summer and during winter breaks, I just got a new job as a ski resort. Working as a lift operator, snow tubing, security, food and beverage, like basically anything that you could do, and then started to move up in the ranks, if you will, and got like my first supervisor position, and then I graduated college, and it was like, all right, well, decision time. Like I had graduated with a bachelor's degree in criminal justice, and I was like, oh,
that's interesting.
All right, what am I gonna do? I was really undecided going into college, but I didn't want to go in undecided, so I picked criminal justice because my grandfather was a police officer and stuff, and I was like, all right, maybe that'll be where I'm gonna go, end up.
Not quite.
No, not at all. And so I got out of college, and I was like, my buddy was like, hey, Vail Resorts is hiring, like they do massive job fairs all over the country and stuff. He's like, do you want to go spend a winter in Colorado? I was like, yeah, that sounds pretty awesome. So came out and worked as a snowmaker, lift operator, worked in the village and the restaurants and stuff.
At Vail.
At Vail, yeah, Vail Mountain. And then I did that for 2 winters, and I fell in love with Colorado. Like I know Vail Resorts has its, reputation and whatnot, and sometimes I'm told like you can't say that, and I'm like, well, it was fun. I loved it.
Yeah.
And it like introduced me to Colorado, introduced me to the mountains out here, just the natural beauty, and the people that are at the resorts and everything. So I was like, all right, I was hooked. But then I was like, I went back to New Jersey, and I just continued to work in Mountain Creek and taking on different jobs and kind of climbed the ladder, right? Manager, I bounced around different departments, and fast forward like 10 years, I became the general manager of Mountain Creek, and that was that. And I was like, all right, things are good, like we're happy, and my buddy who lives in the Denver area was like, hey, come out and visit us and we're going to go up to Breckenridge for the weekend. So my wife and I flew out a couple winters ago, and I literally landed in DIA like there's been like a 10 or 12 year gap, and I felt like I never left. And I was like, oh, this is awesome.
I remember this.
And yeah, like it was like, like things had changed. It's a little bigger on the Front Range now, but the feelings were there. So I was like, it was my wife's first time in Colorado, and she was like, it's so beautiful here. And so, when we went back to New Jersey, it was like, hey, maybe we should like start looking around. And we did, and ultimately I'm here today, and couldn't be happier, because like I did want to, if we were going to move to Colorado, so it's myself, my wife Jenna, and then we have a 4-year-old daughter Holly, we wanted it to be somewhere we were going to move like for the foreseeable future, right? Like basically, like as far as I'm concerned, like the rest of my career. And we wanted a place that was independently owned. And then we wanted a place that like, was not like the normal mountain towns, right? That are like pretty much getting overrun with like, they're just on the weekends, they're second homes. And we wanted like a real town, a real community. And when we came out 2 summers ago to interview, Monarch actually like flew my whole family out, and we were hanging out in Salida and just loving it, like enjoying the riverfront, seeing all the kids playing at the parks, and we're like,
this is it.
Man, I really hope I get this job, because this is like this is it. And so here we are.
Yeah. So 23, you're doing the interview for a specific position, or just to get away from?
To come out here? Yeah, no, it was, I mean, obviously if we were going to make a move like that, we wanted to make sure it was either a lateral or an advancement. And, so I basically was job hunting for like general manager positions. And, knowing that I wanted to be in Colorado, what I didn't know was that I wanted to be at Monarch, because I had only like heard of Monarch, right? Like the ski industry is like, it's massive, right? Like, most people know all the big resorts and everything. And like I would go to like the National Skiers Association conferences and stuff, and you meet other mountains, and, some will stand out here and there. And like, I'd remember hearing Monarch, but didn't really know them or anything until I saw that job posting. I was like, oh, this seems like pretty attractive. And then like, I went all in on like, I need to learn everything possible about this mountain. Like, if we're going to move this far, we want it to be, the right fit for obviously both Monarch and our family, but also like you said, something that's going to be long term.
Yeah.
So.
How many years were you GM at Mountain Creek then?
I was GM for about 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
But had been working for them since you were 16?
Yeah.
Overall?
On and off.
Okay.
Yeah. In the beginning it was like seasonal, right? On and off. And then even when I moved up into like management positions, some of those were just summertime or just winter positions. I had worked at like minor league baseball stadiums back by me. And then there was also another resort in town that has multiple hotels and multiple golf courses. So I'd worked with them for some time. So I kind of like was all over the like recreation, hospitality, attractions industries.
Nice.
Just, moving around throughout there.
What was more attractive out there, the summer or the winters, to you?
The fall. Well, the fall is like my favorite, like one of my favorite seasons there. It's just in the Northeast, like the foliage is so beautiful, and I'm not a humidity guy, and the summers are just so humid that like, once fall comes, you're like, yes, like I got a break. But the winters are cool too, although like what's wild is like one of my best days on the mountain ever was a rainy day. And it's like, if you tell someone from Colorado that, they give me the look you just gave me, like, what's wrong with this guy? And it was just like, no, it like was just fun, like slushy snow, and just like no one was there, so the crowds were gone. So winter's fun in its own way, and I do like the change of seasons, but
so where you're from, it's more like skating on ice, right? And you go really fast. Are you excited for the natural powder that Monarch offers?
For sure. And one thing about the East Coast, the conditions are usually a little firmer. Better have sharp edges. I do believe though, like if you could ski or ride on the East Coast, like You could do it anywhere. But what's so awesome is like being out here now for my second winter, the product at Monarch is truly all natural, right? Like, so there's no snowmaking. So like that really dry, light, fluffy snow, that powder that everyone talks about and loves, like Monarch has that, and we don't put any kind of snowmaking into there to mix it up and make it more dense. It's just like, it's world class. It's top notch.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
What was the elevation that you guys were making snow compared to where the elevation that Monarch is, that we get the natural snow?
We're about 10,000 feet higher at Monarch. So,
So you're literally sea level?
Yeah,
versus...
we're basically sea level,
Oh, wow.
up to about like 1,800 feet.
Okay.
How often do you get powder days, if at all?
The New Jersey powder days, you do get them. They're not West Coast powder though. If you got that snow here, it would be the heaviest snow you've ever experienced.
Dense.
It's pretty funny because last winter, we lived down in Poncha Springs and, got some snow, and it's like I didn't shovel as much as I would have in New Jersey because the snow there is just like cement, doesn't blow away, turns into ice quick, so you got to get rid of it. But when it snows in New Jersey, like, look out. Like, you think I-70 gets packed, like, imagine New York City, right, with 20 million plus people all trying to get to like 5 ski resorts on the 5 powder days that there are a year.
Wow.
It's pretty wild.
So to give a little perspective, Monarch relies pretty much 100% on natural snow, and that's a byproduct of the elevation that we're at. Tell us a little bit about Mountain Creek, how many snow guns you had, and then the different services you had at Mountain Creek versus, do you see any of those services such as mountain biking coming to Monarch?
Yeah, on the snowmaking front, it's pretty impressive what a lot of East Coast resorts can do, and in particular Mountain Creek, because it's so reliant on making snow. There's about 1,600 snow guns on the mountain at Mountain Creek. So basically take every trail, and there's over 50 trails, and just line them with hundreds of snow guns to make snow. It is a super impressive operation. Actually, the snowmaker manager there has been there for over 50 years. Like,
Really?
He's kind of built the system with his bare hands, and
kidding.
it's incredible. For context, like that much firepower can fill like a stadium with snow in like 24 hours. So it's pretty
Very different.
It's pretty wild and very different. And then there are other attractions there, right? Like I mentioned earlier, there's it's year round. There's summer business, and it's one of the things that when I was interviewing for this position was talked about. Like what are going to be like the future of Monarch for the summer and spring or fall or whatever. And I'm new, so I have a ton of experience in those types of attractions, but it's also like, well, water park, like that's out. We know what water rights are here, right? So that's definitely out. And the other part is like, we want to be thoughtful and mindful of like why we would do summer operations. Like the ski industry shifted into summer operations mainly for 2 reasons. One was to retain really good employees year round, and Monarch right now we have almost 60 year round team members, which is really awesome for a resort our size. And then also a lot of resorts do it for lodging, right? Because they have their base villages, and they need to fill hotels, which although we want to support the local hotels and lodging, like there's some other industries that cater to that in the summertime, right? So for us, it's like, what's the summer look like? We want to be mindful of any expansion we want to do there. We did just submit our like next master development plan to the Forest Service, which is like a required document as part of our permit of operating on Forest Service land. And in there we have like just kind of like areas blocked out of like potential for summer attractions. And then areas, which is even more important, of areas where it's like, these are off limits, like So if you think about like our cat skiing terrain and that kind of stuff, like
which is huge.
we would never go, we want that to stay natural, right? And even the front side, like even just because we have an area that says like, well, we could do mountain biking here, doesn't mean we are. We're going to but you got to put it in your plan if you want to potentially do something.
Because that would bring in them to do studies on wildlife and kind of getting a lot more people involved to see what the impact would be for, whether it's migration or, the lynx if there is one or something like that. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have the No Name Expansion right now that we're wrapping up and going to open up this winter. And like that project was a multi-year project, right? Like it's in our 2011 MDP, and it took several years for studies to get done. And it's, whether it's heritage and cultural related items, historic, prehistoric, wildlife, certain plants, and then just resources in general.
Yeah.
So it's a multi-step process. It's not like you put it in there and you're like, all right, yeah, we're gonna go do it, and you can just send out some machinery and stuff. Like that's
Get
not
everybody
how it
on the
works.
mountain and start clearing.
Yeah, which is a really good thing, right? Because we are, we love operating on Forest Service land because of the beauty of it, right? And even though sometimes there's like multi-steps you have to go through, they're there for a reason, and it's just that's on us to make sure we do our due diligence and get that work done.
Are you familiar with the permit process and what that looks like as far as like, is it a yearly renew for?
No. Yeah, our permit, it runs through, it's a multi-year. I think our current permit might be like 35 or 40 years permit. So it runs into 2040 something right now, I think, off the top of my head. So, but it's multi-year.
Okay. Yeah. But that permit allows you to introduce expansion like back in 2011, and then for the expanding years from there too. So not that they could automatically say yes, but gives you the opportunity not to have to redo a permit every single time you introduce something new.
Yeah, the overall special use permit is what captures like our agreement with the Forest Service and any fees or anything like that, and sets like the real rough guidelines of what we can and can't do. And then from there's the Master Development Plan, which I had mentioned that was 2011, and now we have our current one that we have submitted to the Forest Service. We're still waiting on final acceptance, it's called. So it's not even approval, it's acceptance.
Gotcha.
And it's literally just the Forest Service accepting that, hey, we see what you would like to do. We see your vision. We're in line with it. So we're going to accept this. Now, if you want to do a project, like let's say you wanted to, one of the items in there is to take our rentals and lesson center, kind of the tent structure that we have, and replace that with a permanent structure. Now, if we wanted to do that, that would be a separate process where we would submit that for approval, and then there'd be studies done potentially on any natural impacts or anything like that, and then they'd approve that specific project.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it's multi-step, but a lot of stuff that's in that Master Development Plan, like there's upgrades to all of our lifts in there. And again, you have to put things in there, because if it's not in the Master Development Plan, it's like, we can't look at it. So it doesn't mean we're like upgrading all of our lifts, but we want to have the flexibility based on, maybe one of our two-seaters needs to go up to a quad because, that area of the mountain has experienced some more skier visits, or some of our lifts reach their lifetime, and then it's like, well, do we just replace it with a double, or is it a triple, or so.
So there is the conversation to be had, right, that Monarch leases the land from the Forest Service, right? So what is the difference between like owning the land yourself as if you did as Monarch versus leasing it? Do you retain basically the same amount of rights, except you have to go through the Forest Service to get permission? Or is it kind of like, do you get the run of the land? Is it complete freedom, or is there rules to it?
No, there's definitely rules. Yeah, like if you own the land, right, you would have, I'm sure, certain, local authorities you'd kind of work with. I know, so for Mountain Creek, part of the land was on state land and part was owned. And like the privately owned land, like you could, you want to put in some more snow guns, like you pull a permit for the electric,
Right.
et cetera, and there you go. With the Forest Service and where Monarch operates, it's like if you have an idea of something you want to do, that has to be presented in the master development plan, accepted in that, and then approved on a specific project basis.
And so are water rights part of the conversation as to why we don't have snowmaking here at Monarch?
No, so I guess yes and no. The main reason is because we love that we're all natural and we embrace that, and that's how we intend to be. Like, unless something happens where we're forced to like make snow, like we don't want to. And it's funny because like I've done it, and so I know it and whatever, and I'm like, yeah, no, like that's cool. I lived that chapter. Like,
Sure.
This is the next chapter. So we actually do have in our master development plan, there is some snowmaking, and there is water rights, and there is a snowmaking pond, but that's just a placeholder, because if it's not in there, and all of a sudden winters start to get warmer and warmer, and it's like, well, we need to, but right now we are like, we are committed to no snowmaking.
Yeah.
We want to be all natural, right? Like,
That's
it's
awesome.
It's a big differentiator, right?
So that reminds me, and I almost brought a tinfoil hat for you because he's kind of into that sort of thing.
right.
Yeah, sometimes.
And I wanted to bring up the subject of cloud seeding, even though that's not so much conspiracy, it's actually reality, that some resorts and ski areas in Colorado do utilize cloud seeding. Can you tell us if that's part of the master plan, or if it would be considered, or if you think it's even effective for this area?
It's not a part of the master development plan, and admittedly, I don't know enough about it.
Yeah.
To me, I'm just like, let's just do everything we can to keep this all natural with no cloud seeding.
Cloud seeding's not natural?
No
Say
snow
what?
making. Like, there's depends which one, what you want to read, right? There's potential health concern.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know enough about it to truly say, like, other than we don't have plans to do
Okay,
it, right?
noted.
Like,
So the 25-26 season is what year for Monarch?
it is the 86th season.
86th.
Yep. So,
I remember when it was 75. I've been here a bit, so
Yeah.
that was really cool. So you mentioned parking, staff year-round, carpooling. What is it staff-wise to take to get people parked? I mean, literally all throughout the day. How many staff are you having to keep out there to make sure people are parking in the right spot, in and out efficiently? And then we've got the expansion, obviously up at the crest for getting bussed down.
Yeah. I'll give a shout out to our Assistant Director of Base Services, Malcolm Wilbur. He's been in his position for a few years now, and he is like, he could probably give like a seminar on parking logistics and stuff. Like, he's out there every day, like, okay, if we park cars this way, we could get this many in, and watching the flow and whatever. So he has a base service manager, Michael Rice, and then a couple supervisors, and there's usually on like a peak holiday, there'll be like 10 to 15 people for our parking, and then some shuttle drivers, right? And the crest you mentioned, right? Like, that is our like backup for the backup parking.
Right.
We do foresee us going there, a little more this year, right? Like, an expansion of No Name size, like, should bring some more weekend guests.
Was there anything added besides that, or not? So,
In addition to the crest parking, no, that's it. But I mean, we feel really comfortable that, like, so we only went to the crest last year 2 times, I'm pretty sure, and we actually had one of the busiest day in our history last year. So we feel pretty good of, like, now that we have our operations really dialed in for parking, that we have the spaces.
Nice.
But I go back to, if anybody wants a carpool, right?
it's huge. It's very important.
It's a big help, because it just, fewer cars obviously helps that out.
Was there any thought or expansion to have the shuttle service from BV, from Salida, Poncha, to kind of, basically create a better experience for parking and or getting young kids up there on a Friday or Saturday or something to help parents out?
From BV and Salida and Poncha Springs, we run shuttles for our internal team, right? So, and we do that 7 days a week, and the schedule fluctuates based on day of the week and stuff like that. And regarding guests, there was a shuttle that ran on Fridays out of Salida. We actually partnered with the city.
Okay.
And last year there was less than 50 people that rode it for the entire year. And it's kind of like, I feel like as a society, what do we really like, right? For the most part, a lot of people, we like convenience, right?
Yeah.
And a shuttle service needs to be super convenient. So when you go to some of these other resorts that have villages, it's like you're waiting 10 minutes for a bus. That's it. And it's like come, you know.
Yeah.
To do that, you would need a ton of buses, which would cost a ton of money,
Right.
which would do the opposite of what we're trying to do, right? Of like remaining affordable. There is like the Mustang, if you've seen that cruising through here. They actually have doubled their route through here. I think that's like twice a day or whatever.
Okay.
And they do have like an $8 ticket from BV or Salida up to Monarch. So it's not free, but it is it's an option.
Nice.
Right?
I had to print off the No Name expansion. It's impressive. I cannot imagine like 50% increase. I didn't even count how many runs there are that are laid out on this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 that I can see, plus whatever else you come out with. And being somebody that when we first moved out here, my wife and I, was like, oh, we're so close. Let's ski. Let's snowboard. So Monarch's right there. Awesome. Fell in love with it. Like, okay. And like being able to go up for a half day and then back down and finish up work or tidy up or visit with family and get them up there and back down is so convenient. Yeah, I'm gonna have to spend a whole day up there just to try and get every single aspect of it. Do you see this expansion creating, I say, what is on a daily basis, like your normal, like work, Monday through Thursday experience for people that are trying to get down to Monarch or get up to Monarch from Salida, from BB, from the Front Range? Are you going to see that potentially double or maybe more just because of the expansion and the new terrain?
Yeah, that's a good question. We've looked at some other projects that have happened in expansions in Colorado, but it's not all apples to apples.
Okay.
We believe that overall, of course, we're going to have an increase in visits, but we think most of those are going to be on the weekends.
Okay.
We think that Monday through Thursday where you feel like you have a private resort, trust me, I love that. That was awesome.
Yeah.
We think not only are you going to still feel that, you're probably going to feel that even more, because even if we had, a couple hundred more people come on like a Monday or Tuesday, we're adding 50% more terrain.
Disappear.
So it's going to spread people out even more.
It is, yeah.
And and then even on the weekends where it's so funny where like everything's relative and it's your own perspective, right? So like on a Monday through Thursday, like you're skiing right on. So with No Name, even though there'll be an increase, I think, on the weekends, it's going to spread people out still. And No Name in itself, right? Like, so there's 10 named runs back there, but then the tree skiing is going to be phenomenal. Like it is so awesome and gnarly what the trees look like back there right now. And then there's that little hike to terrain that's going to be off the skiers left at the North Star Glades and stuff. Like it's going to just like absorb so many people that it's just gonna, I think in a weird way we could be busier this year and almost feel less busy. So
I think we should get right to the point. Most people watching this are probably most interested in the No Name expansion. I would like to talk about like the cool parts of that project, for instance how many acres it is, and the fact that it's both sides of the Continental Divide, which is extremely unique in Colorado, that you can ski both inbounds. And that it involved two national forests, so permission from both forests, so years of planning and permissions. You want to just give the viewers a little bit of information on the No Name expansion?
Yeah. So back in the early 2000s, Rich Moorhead, who's one of our former GMs, kind of had the vision of like expanding into No Name. And the area that we're talking about is part of the current cat skiing terrain. And it kind of started out as a vision, right? And then in 2011, we submitted our master development plan and that was in there. And Randy Stroud, who was my predecessor as GM, started to help kind of bring that forward and get some other projects done in that MDP, make sure we had all the infrastructure in place, because part of like an expansion like that is making sure that you have a base lodge that can handle, you know, more people, right? A rental center that can handle more people. And if you've been around for a while, the Monarch, the base lodge has kind of grown a little bit each couple of years. So like he's getting all that in place. And then Scott Presley, who's our director of mountain operations, like he is the one that has taken this project and like over the last few years, like really got us to the finish line. Like he has multiple people obviously that helped him out, right? Like BL Holding House and Zach Moore, Malcolm, who I mentioned earlier, and a whole cast of team. But Scott's been like that integral piece of like coordinating, you mentioned 2 national forests, right? The amount of studies that were done and coordination with local contractors, right? Because we did a bunch of work in-house, but we also contracted out a lot of work. So, you know, you bring in SkyTrack to do the lift install. And really cool story is the very first job, the start for SkyTrack as a company was at Monarch years ago.
Really?
The very first lift, that they've ever built was at Monarch, and they now have a like one of the terminals, the drive called the Monarch Drive, and that's at a bunch of resorts all over the country.
That's really
and it's named after Monarch Mountain. So to have them come in and do that piece of the project was really, really awesome to see. And there's a lot of guys that work at SkyTrack that like were a part of that 15 years ago, and now they're like kind of like
unreal.
Yeah, it's like validating their whole like career, and like it's so cool. So, but then other local contractors, right, that have helped cut the road in to get to the bottom, the summer work road, right, clearing the trails, thinning in the trees right now. So like the trees that I talk about that are going to be awesome, like we've done a lot of work in there to kind of make them a little thinner and make them a little more skier friendly and stuff. You know, if you don't already follow Scott's blog,
I do,
like I recommend anyone do that, because like the level of detail that Scott brings to work every day is like, it's like unmatched. And I'll tell you, like, a perfect example of his professionalism and how detailed he is to keep things moving forward, even though we're working with all these different agencies and all these entities, and there can be delays, and there's other projects even going on right now that have been missing deadlines and have been delayed. With Scott's guidance, we actually had our Tomichi, that's the chairlift, right? Our Tomichi triple acceptance test 2 days earlier than when we initially planned to have it. Which is like, it was funny because we would like joke this summer when people would be like, oh no, we're ahead of schedule. And I'd be like, don't tell me we're ahead. Like, just be on time, you know, like just be on time.
Don't tease me.
We literally ended up being ahead of schedule by 2 days for that. So like, we're in such a great place. Like, I can't say enough about Scott and that whole team for being so detailed. Like, we would submit reports and updates to the Forest Service, and some of their feedback would be, yeah, this is a more detailed plan than we normally see. Good. You know, which is awesome, because it allows us to control what we can and keep moving things forward.
Nice. And so geographically speaking, I'm stunted, so you might have to help me understand. Yeah. It's called the Tomichi lift. And so if you look off the backside of Panorama or Pano, there's that little dome. It's called Tomichi Dome, right? Yes. Is that why it's the same area? Yeah,
that's a large part of it. And really it's the whole overall No Name, all like the trail names and the lift name, they all have historical significance and ties to the local area. So, and it's not just one piece of history. There's so much mining history in this area, right? There's so much history from like a Native American standpoint, the Ute tribes and the cultural sites. Exactly.
Do you want to talk a little bit? Because there was someone up there that that was doing the tour on the game drives, how they would, the Native Americans would like push the prey or the hunted animals to the cliff, and they would drop them off the cliff, right? Yeah. Tell us a little bit about how that's a prehistoric game drive. like 5,000
Oh yeah, I did
years
see
old.
that in there. Yeah, prehistoric.
Yeah. So there's and last summer, last fall actually, when I first came out here, I heard about it, and they're like, "Hey, go up this trail, and like, there's actually some interpretive signage, and you could see it." And it's just so cool to think about what humans were capable of doing, and this is back with like hand tools and prehistoric. It's like it's not machines or whatever, but there's literally rock walls, right, that run along the ridge, and then there's kind of like rock, like hunting blinds built out of rocks. And the Ute tribe, they used to have the women and the children used to be down in like the valleys and lower down, and they would hike up the side of the mountain and drive the animals up, like the elk and the bighorn sheep. And what's really weird is like bighorn sheep, you see them like those things can climb like anything, but for whatever reason, like rock walls, they like don't like to hop over. They kind of follow them. So the women and children would push those animals up. They'd hit a rock wall and they'd follow it along, and then the men and the boys would be waiting there with atlatls and really prehistoric weapons to kill and harvest those animals. And it's like that's literally right there, a part of like this No Name area, right? And then on the other side, there's a wealth of mining history and all. It's like there's so many pieces of history that come together there, and we really wanted to protect that. So even though like working with the Forest Service, there was a ton of studies done, but we even had like our own third-party archaeologists and stuff come in, and that's why we named a lot of the trails that way, because we wanted to pay homage to like what we're a part of.
5,000 years of history.
Yeah,
like right there. That's awesome.
Yeah.
God, 1,000 vertical feet, millions of dollars.
So 1,000 vertical feet is equivalent to the top of Pano down to Garfield.
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
So
Which is the most compared to any ski run. It's more than any ski run in Monarch currently.
Okay.
Yep.
So it's longer, which is nice because sometimes when you ski Monarch, it's like, okay, shorter runs compared to other places. Now we have the longer runs, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is different about the Tomichi lift?
It's a triple. It is a fixed grip lift though, which is something that is, all of our lifts are fixed grip, and it's pretty shocking that like, most resorts, they put in a new lift and they're putting in a high speed detachable lift. And for us, it was like, no, this is like who we are. And when I talked earlier about like the differentiators, I also think like our lift operations team like is one of our differentiators. And I think a large part of it is because they're characters, which I love.
From the Tubin Hill to...
Oh yeah, they're my kind of people. And the other part is that because it's a fixed grip lift, when you get on a lift at Monarch, right, you get to that point where you get to the load board, and there's an operator there that bumps the chair, right, that slows it down.
They actually bump your chair too.
And they talk to you, they interact with you.
Yeah.
And that's so cool, and that's so unique, because in a world where we've shifted so far to technology, and I'm not opposed to technology, but like you can go to a ski resort, literally get a ticket, and go on a lift without like ever interacting with a human. And some people, maybe that's nice for them or whatever. And listen, there's benefits to that at times. But I think at Monarch, what's really cool is like, we have technology where you could buy on your phone, and there's ticket windows, but there's also like the kiosks you can go to. But we have that last touch point before you go up, where we have someone standing out there saying hello to you, asking you what's up, keeping that vibe really high.
Sure, yeah.
And it's so cool. And the fact that we put a new lift in and we're like, we want to do that is like, that's so Monarch.
So the other part of the Tomichi lift is it's driven from the top, not the bottom, right?
Yes.
So that means lift control is up at the top?
So all lifts will have operators at the tops and at the bottoms, right? Always. And then... So what's different here is, the motor, right? The engine of it is at the top. And that was actually done for a real strategic reason. So I mentioned that like there's no parking lot or anything at the base of Tomichi. We didn't want to add the hum of the motor down there.
It's going to be so
right? We didn't want to add that noise. Like we wanted you to feel like get to the bottom of this bowl in this basin and feel like, so there's a small like warming hut that we have down there this year, really for just kind of a safety issue. or an area for you to just go inside and get warm real quick. There's some vault toilets, and then there's just a bowl wheel with an operator house. In that operator house, right, there's there's buttons you can start and stop the lift, etc. And there's direct phone contact. There's also radios. So all of our lifts, you have multiple redundancies in communication. And then we even have there's going to be an emergency phone at the bottom of No Name Basin in case someone, we do our sweep at the end of the day, but someone got lost or
you never know.
Yeah, and it'll ring to our patrol, and then after a certain time, it'll ring direct to like the local police authorities to activate a response through search and rescue or whatever. But so it's really cool how we thought about that part of it to keep it protected. But as far as like the logistics of lifts, like there's plenty of lifts that have the motors at the tops and drives at the top, but it doesn't change the staffing or anything like that.
Nice. So you mentioned a little bit of staying away from technology, but embracing technology. So with this expansion, obviously we've got avalanche beacons, there's the InReach minis and the InReach messengers and stuff. Is that something for somebody that is experienced versus not experienced, that is just another safety line that could be important for not necessarily that person, but maybe for another person that you would suggest as a tool in the tool bag for any type of this expansion, this vast space, now that it's a little more accessible to everybody?
Yeah, it's a good question, and it's we do have avalanche mitigation up at the mountain, right? And most of that is done in the cat skiing terrain and in Mirkwood. And for Mirkwood, right, there's a beacon check right before you start that hike up. And for No Name, even though it's taking a part of the cat skiing terrain, we're going to be grooming that. We're going to be out there working that. So, the whole terrain will not be groomed nightly. But we kind of have a plan in place right now of like the furthest skier right and left trails will be groomed nightly. So this way no one goes to the end of a skiway and finds a bump run, right? So, and then we'll rotate kind of those middle runs based on needs. So it'll be managed like our front side. And, so a beacon it's never a bad idea.
Right.
But we're going to do a lot on our side to mitigate any kind of hazards in that sense.
Safety being paramount for any outdoor activity, right?
But if you we have backcountry gates and stuff, and if people go out those gates, you better have the right equipment, right? And
were any snowcats added as far as grooming, or same amount of snowcats? Same staff, or did you add anyone to the staff?
Same amount of snowcats, and that goes back to our being able to have the infrastructure lined up before the actual terrain expansion. But we did add some operators this year.
Cool.
So on average, there'll be another operator out there full time every night, just to be able to cover, because we don't want to sacrifice the front side either, right? So
take care of it.
And the No Name terrain will be new terrain, right? So there is operating snowcats, those operators, they're artists, right? They sculpt snow, right? It's really impressive what they do.
Creative individuals.
And but this is a blank canvas, but it's also their first time working on this canvas now. So we got a ton of anchor points out there for them to be able to winch trails for the trails that are steeper and stuff. And so it's going to be fun to kind of learn all that and go through that. And one of the things that we've been talking with our team about is this project is so big. You could work in the ski industry for 30 years and never be a part of something like this. So even if you're the operator that's bops around from mountain to mountain every couple of years, you are right time to be here, because it's going to be you may never do something like this again, which is going to be really, really cool.
That's actually, I am from Iowa, where we have combines and similar technology. So talk to us a little bit about what winching means, because when I first heard about what that was, I was like, holy crap, that's really cool. Explain kind of what that means.
Yeah, so winch, there's a whole bunch of cats. There's a whole bunch of groomers. Some are designed to just groom your greens, your blues. Some are different sizes. There's some that are designed for terrain parks, and they can articulate their blades in certain ways and maneuver in certain ways so that they can shape jumps, and the technology has come so far for all of the grooming companies. And then there's winch cats, which are basically like, if you see anything that's like a black diamond rated or steeper trail getting groomed, you really need a winch cat. You really can't free groom that. And a winch cat basically has an arm that goes over the top of the cat and has a cable on it, and that cable hooks to an anchor point. That anchor point can be another cat, or in our case, we actually have like giant steel posts like mounted into the ground in foundations, and you hook to that, and it just gives that machine kind of a safety line so that it could go down and then almost climb its way back up with added tension on that cable. It's super cool. I will also say, if you ever are at a resort and you see a sign that says like winch cat operating, like steer clear, because that cable jumps from side to side of the trail. Sometimes it's laid out, hundreds or thousands of feet. Like, you don't know where it's going to jump. So huge safety concern if you ever see that. And there's always signage out at resorts and stuff, but steer clear.
Yeah. So kind of sticking with the technology, we talked, a backcountry technology. We've got a lot of people that spend their weekends, maybe even their week, that they're actually working. So Wi-Fi access, being able to continue to work on the mountain instead of having to drive back to town to get better signal. Is there any opportunity for bringing better bandwidth on the mountain?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we've already taken steps on that.
Awesome.
So even though I said earlier about Monarch being, we like the lack of technology on the lift side of things. Wi-Fi, that's now like a necessity for people's life. So, one thing I'll say is, I know, like, I had Verizon before I came out here, and now I have AT&T. And
That's the big
BL has been doing work for the last several years trying to get Verizon service up there. We think we're at a point where we just need more people to call and complain, and maybe Verizon will do it.
Noted.
It's kind of out of our hands. So we're attacking the Wi-Fi, and we've increased Wi-Fi in our base area. We do have Starlink as part of our like backup redundancy plan, both at the main base and up at the crest. That was added this summer. So we're going to continue to do that. If you go up there this year, I'm hoping you would see some positive improvement there. But there's still room for us to continue to expand that.
Sydney put something in here too about the capability of other lift systems that use RF, chip tracking, stuff like that. Is that anything that Monarch's actually interested in, or just to kind of keep track and tabs on people that are doing anything, off trail, or just to kind of keep track of, those that are visiting?
We've begun some conversations with a few companies, software companies for like apps and stuff like that do a lot of that. We haven't committed to any of them yet. We're really in the exploratory phase right now. And it's like, like when we look at the technology pieces and the advancements, one of the things that we want to make sure, if we do make an investment, it's like the guest sees a big benefit from that, right? So, so whether it's like being able to access the trail map right there and literally seeing it like real time, like you bring up the app and you're like, oh, here is where I am. Because sometimes the guest, if you show them a trail map, like that's pretty foreign, right? So, or if it's like being able to load tickets on it or whatever, like something to make their experience easier.
Yeah.
So we're in like phase one of that, where it's really just like exploring and seeing what's out there. But I'm sure we'll have something in the future.
With the technology that's actually out there for personal devices, so such as like Garmin, Strava, other tracking methods, is there or has there been any type of mapping for those so people can pull up the most recent stuff, whether they're up to date or they download the newest thing, to actually have No Name actually on that map?
We've done like obviously like the LiDAR studies and the surveying for that. If that's been picked up amongst Garmin and Strava, I'm not sure, but I would imagine it will be quickly, especially once you start seeing people skiing, right? And then it learns that those are
this is the
trails.
space. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good to know. So speaking of skier demographics, we know that plenty of skiers come from Colorado Springs, the military demographic there. They do get a military discount. Last time I checked, we have, the tourists like Texans, Okies, people from Kansas. Something that a lot of locals are curious about is that we do think it's really cool that the new lift was self-financed. So Monarch is an independent mountain, so it's independently financed. What can you tell us about season pass prices? And I thought it was really cool how pre-purchase season passes did not go up in price despite the new lift. Like, what can you kind of tell us about the value that you get from the Monarch Pass?
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'm biased, but I think it's one of the best values out there. And you touched on the no increase if you had, renewed by June 1st, I think, or May 31st this spring. And that was really driven by our ownership group and then our leadership team of like, why are we doing No Name, right? And the big why is because, of course, we want to go out there and enjoy it, but it's a thank you to the pass holders. Like, I know I'm, fairly new and I'm super excited for it, but there's people that have been skiing Monarch 20, 30, 40 years. Like,
yeah,
you've committed to us. Like, we want to say thank you. So we were really excited to be able to say, hey, we got this project done. It cost X, but we were, for years we planned appropriately and we were really, financially savvy and moves we made and everything like that to put us in that position. And, people are expecting like, oh, now you're going to see a price increase. Right. They're like, no, like actually you're not. Like, we want to say thank you. They're staying flat.
Yeah.
And we'll continue to we're already, working on next year, right? Even though this season hasn't started, but we're challenging ourselves to stay affordable.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, how can we make that happen? And that's one of the exciting pieces of the job is like, we want to remain. We kind of have like the three legs of the stool, right? Like, we want to remain a resort that is healthy, right? Like as a business, because if we're healthy, we can do a lot of good things. We want to remain affordable, and we want to invest in our team. And it's like, to be able to do all three of those becomes like the magic. And it's not, there's no like one answer.
Yeah.
But it's really exciting, and we're committed to making sure we protect all of those. So, I'm not saying what past prices are next year because that's not finalized, right? But I can tell you, like, we constantly are having conversations about how do we stay affordable. Like, we want families. I came from a single income family. Like, when I started skiing at 4, like, I didn't have a season pass. We kind of could go when we had a friend that worked at a ski resort or something like that, right? Like, how do you get those deals to get introduced to it? So it's really close to me and really amongst the leadership team about like, this is a family resort. Like, we need to protect that.
Yeah.
And if you do the math on it's like $670 for a season pass, which is on par with a basin. That's no more than the cost of like a really nice gym membership. There's gym memberships in the valley that cost more than a season pass per month. That said, there are some locals who I've talked to, shout out to who you are, who have said that we wish we only had Monarch only passes and that therefore it should be more affordable. Do you have a response to that, or like kind of elaborating on the partner ski area benefits that you get from the pass? Yeah,
we do have a Monarch only pass. It just, we sell out of it, right? So we only have a certain number of those. So, and this is where it's like balancing the business and trying to make as many people happy as possible. Like, one of the best pieces of advice I could give to anyone that wants to get like the best deal is to commit to us early, right? And early is in the springtime, and that's when prices are the lowest. That's when Monarch only passes are, kind of out there before they're sold out. And we even offer like payment plans, which is also something that's really nice because, if you have a family of 4 and it's like, hey, you got to, because you mentioned $600, like that's the current price around there, right? But we were lower than that to start, right? But still, it's like, it could be $2,000, right, for a family of 4.
Yeah.
But if you space that out over 6 months, or it becomes a more manageable expense for you, right? And making sure that part of it is like, yeah, you look at what others are doing, but we also believe like we're our own competition, and because we're privately owned and independent, like we make our own decisions, right? So like we're gonna keep doing what we feel is best for those 3 legs of the stool, right? And one of those is that affordability and our local community. And you mentioned the demographics. Yeah, we get people from Colorado Springs, the Front Range. I mean, for Colorado Springs, right, like it's nice for them to be able to come right up 50 to get here. We get tourists from out of state, Texas, et cetera, spring breaks. And honestly, we need every one of our guests, right, to make this kind of equation work. But of course, there's a special spot for the local community, right? Like Chaffee County, like we want anyone that wants to or has a desire to ski or snowboard or snow tube. Like we want to be able to take away as many barriers as possible for them to get introduced into that. Sure. Because one of the biggest challenges in the ski industry as a whole is that barrier to entry and that price point. So we're really mindful of trying to minimize that, right? Trying to do our part to say, hey, we all love winter sports, and we want you to come enjoy it with us.
Yeah, I definitely want to commend, as a small business owner, what the owners of Monarch have been able to do to really reinvest and have a vision over the many, many years of what it is now a pinnacle, I think, of what Monarch is, and had the vision of so many years ago. Now we're actually part of, to be able to have no price increase currently for something that increases the capability of the mountain for our local area. I just see the amount of traction that is possible for the 25-26 season for the community, for visitors, for multiple stays. Like, I mean, just looking at the space on the map and knowing what's on the other side, previous, like people are coming like, hey, we're just going to ski the day. Turns into, I need to find a hotel. They're calling BV, they're calling Salida, they're spending the night, they're buying groceries. The next trip they're making, they're staying at an Airbnb for the whole week, whatever it is, can really drive. And this all kind of comes from me sitting in on a few of the Visitors Bureau meetings for the county and just seeing like they are trying really hard to make Chaffee County continue to be a place that people want to be. This is a huge part. Yeah. Though it is seasonal, but now people are like, oh, well, we spent 2 days. What do we go in the summer? What's it like in the summer? And I think the expansion into summer activities that Monarch could potentially add is only going to add to the county's desirability to visit, vacation, and potentially live. Yeah. So I have to commend the vision and the ability for them to make it something that's welcoming, it's family oriented. It's going to be, I think it's going to be a great 25-26 season for them. Yeah, and we know, right? Like especially in the winter time, like we're the biggest game in town, if you will, right? Like we're the largest attraction, why tourism's coming here, and we know that responsibility that we have to the community to make sure we do drive visits to support the hotels and the lodging and even when you look at both BV and Salida, like they have incredible like main streets that offer multiple restaurants, multiple mom and pop shops, and like I love that. Right, like I think it's one of my favorite parts about this area is like being like, oh yeah, I can go downtown and have all these options almost 7 nights a week, year round. And for Monarch, like we help that, so we need to understand that pressure and not screw that up, if you will, right? So continue to stay affordable, bring the families in, like we're a part of something bigger. It's not like we're just like we run the ski resort. Good luck. It's like, no, like we're in this with you. Yeah. And we want to make sure that like, we're putting people in beds at night, right? And getting those restaurants full because we enjoy them as well, right? And if the visitors that go to Monarch in the winter, like if they didn't happen,
it'd probably be really hard to operate a business in town.
Yeah.
Right.
Being very
year
seasonal.
round.
Yep.
So we like that pressure, and yeah, our owners are all like, like invested in it as well, and they love what Monarch is. And it's, when I was going through the interview process, like I felt that immediately of like, yeah, there's going to be some growth at Monarch, right? But like, we do not want to be the mega resorts.
Is there an actual number on this expansion of what it actually costs the owners?
Yeah. I might get in trouble if I share it.
I don't
usually
want
a transparent person. So
the reason I was going to ask is the idea that all the owners are these multimillionaires that are just sitting on piles of cash that are doing this. This is why, if that cash existed, this is the reason.
Yeah.
Like the vision.
Oh yeah.
The high tower that people put those owners of Monarch on, just a little bit lower. I think it makes them seem a little bit more realistic on what they are doing for this county, let alone the city and that type of thing. So that's why I was going to bring that up, but I won't. That's not something I want you to get in trouble for. So.
Yeah, it's really like from my perspective, I have no history with the ownership group or anything other than they're really successful business people. Right? In all the businesses that they're in, which is great for Monarch because Monarch wasn't always successful. And now it is, and it's profitable. And because of that, they're able to reinvest back into the business. And it's not like my perspective is they view Monarch, of course, like number one rule of business, stay in business, right? But they view it as so much more. And that like, it's a piece of the community. Like if Monarch goes away, like you go back into the history, right? Like when the mining boom, and then when the mines shut down, like what happened? Like towns went away.
Pop smoke and out.
And it's like, could that be what happened if Monarch? Like you don't know, but because of that, it's like the ownership group views it as, hey, it's a business, but we're so much bigger than a business, and we want to make sure we protect that.
Yeah. And I was curious, like, I think you were about to say county, but it's now counties, right? Yeah. So it's like, it's an expansion into 2 national forests, 2 counties. Like the mind-boggling coordination that Scott has done is epic. It's amazing. And I can't commend the leadership, the owners to have that vision any more than like just I'm getting tingles thinking about that mindset of being great business owners and knowing that this is a pinnacle of now 2 counties. This is a pinnacle of how successful Salida, how successful Chaffee County, how successful BV is going to be for the next 30 plus years, 50 plus years. Yeah. So it's really nice.
Yeah.
Speaking of how to run a business, I think it can be easy to point fingers, and I was running some very rough numbers to kind of get a sense of like Monarch's footprint in the valley. Monarch employs roughly 350 locals each ski season, some part-time, some full-time, some year-round people, like you were saying. If you ballpark an average of 40 hours a week, because some people work part-time, some overtime, at roughly $18 an hour, that's roughly $250,000 in payroll going out back into the community every week, right? So if you multiply that, that's like close to $1 million per month circulating back into the valley, the surrounding areas. And when you factor in benefits and year-round staff, Monarch contributes something like $7 million a year back into the local economy. I think that's something people kind of lose track of, and I'm sure
that's a very direct contribution, not to go back to hotels, restaurants that you can't really factor in at all.
Yeah.
So it's impressive.
And this goes back to some feedback I got from when I was asking around. With that scale of impact, how do you personally think about balancing staying affordable for the families and the skiers while also creating an environment where skiers and guests and employees feel supported and excited to come back?
That is the secret sauce, right? And it goes back to the 3 legs of the stool. And we are, with our expansion this year, like there's certain jobs that we've added, right? We've added more groomers, we've added more lift operators. Then there's other areas where we've become a little more efficient, right? So we've leveraged technology with selling tickets. So instead of needing 5 ticket agents, maybe we need 3. So we kind of balance like that internal of like number of people we need without adding on too much expense.
Nice.
And, you know, that's something we're always just looking at is like, how do we continue to invest in the team? And some of that is being more efficient. Also driving a few more visits, but not gouging any of our loyal guests, right? Like, you know, like, so it's like we want our existing season pass holders, and we just need a few more, right, to be able to maintain all of this growth.
Cool.
Nice. With the staffing that you guys have now, obviously year round, how many did you have to keep on for the expansion in addition to your normal? I think you said 60 roughly.
Yeah. It's roughly 60 year round, and actually the year round number has gone up.
Okay.
Over the last couple of years, just because of, you know, the health of the business and again wanting to give individuals that year round income. Yeah. Being able to afford to do that and being in a good spot. This year, though, we probably had another 5 seasonal folks that were like helping out in No Name, just doing whatever. I mean, it was there was some. It was fun, like, because some of us that maybe are not out in the field every day, we would go out for certain projects, right? Like we had to run a power line from the top of the lift all the way down to the bottom. Yeah. And like we like loved it. We were like, this is so much fun. Like a field trip we're on. And like the team that's been out there is like, oh man, you could see like they're getting beat up. Like this is a lot of work they've been putting in, you know, a lot of manual physical work all summer long. Yeah. And so they like, you know, they deserve the pats on the back just as much as anyone else, because they were literally out there working, you know, in the cold weather, warm weather, just getting it done.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
The success of the 25-26 season, what does that look like just for you? Like as an individual, as the new.
Yeah. I mean, one of the first things that comes to mind for me is like seeing the smiles on the guest faces when they first come up Breezeway or they come over Pano and head down Mule Train, like into that terrain that they've been looking at for years and hearing about for so long. Like seeing those smiles, hearing the woohoos and everything else, like that to me is going to be like, oh yeah, this is awesome. And then the other side, which I'm already experiencing now, is starting to see people on our team that like have gone from an idea to oh man, this is really stressful to get this done, to now being like that feeling of pride.
Yes.
That walking around like, yeah, like I know we're not open yet, but we're almost at the finish line type thing.
Very cool.
So like those two moments for me are what like coming in pretty new is like going to make it so exciting.
Nice.
And I already feel the energy, even just like every time someone talks to me, like they don't want to talk to me, they want to know about No Name, right? And it's just like that excitement. I'm like, cool, like I love
Chris,
that. Like,
what about No Name?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like I feel that energy, and I'm like, good, yes, I'm so happy that I'm a part of this, and you know, like my predecessor Randy, right, like got us up to a point, and then he's like, all right, now it's yours. And I'm like, well, thanks for doing all the heavy lifting, right? Like I get to just celebrate, and it's just like, no, it's like it's so cool to feel that energy.
That's awesome.
And what pieces of advice, if any, did Randy give you moving forward?
He gave me a bunch, and you know, one of the things that, you know, he talked a lot about, even from when I first met him in the interview process, is, you know, like always focus on the three P's, right? The people, the product, and the process, right? And it's like the people, whether it's our team or the guests coming, like they have to be priority, right? And then it's the product. What product are we delivering, whether it's that all natural snow or that affordable pass? And then the process, you know, like how do you people don't want lines, right? So how do you leverage a little technology there? How do you deliver food in a, you know, like in a really good way where it's elevated culinary and not just a, you know, a hockey puck cheeseburger or something. So
Sure.
piecing all those together. And then, you know, and then one of the things that I love that he said to me, which I, you know, I've always felt this way in my career. And, he continued to echo it to me, was just like, and have fun with it.
Yeah.
Because it is like, have fun with it. Like, you're at a ski resort.
Yeah.
Like,
That's the whole point.
there could be worse things you could be doing. Like, so it's been, I can't say enough about how the transition between Randy and I went. Like, it was coming in from the outside. Like, it was like, oh man, I got to get like this crash course. Even though I've been in the ski industry for like 25 years, like, I'm new to Monarch. I needed to, more importantly, not know about like how to run a ski business, you know, a resort, but the people and what it meant to Monarch. So it was like, I was in like boot camp with Randy. I'm like, all right, yeah, you're picking up on that. Yeah, you got that. All right, you're in line on this. So it was really fun to see that. And
Awesome.
it'll be exciting to have him back at the ribbon cutting and the
Oh, he's gonna be
ceremony
back
for
for that?
opening. Well, of
Heck
course
yeah,
we're going to
he better
open
be.
the owner. We got to
That's
invite the
awesome.
owners, right?
Okay,
But
yeah.
because him and Rich Moorhead and
Sure.
I mean, there'll be a whole list.
Nice
Awesome.
guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I think we're ready to wrap, right?
Sure.
Okay.
Cool.
Can't thank you guys enough for watching. Chris, thank you so much. Sydney, I appreciate you being on with us while
Absolutely.
Adam's out hunting for the third rifle season. So
Okay.
thank you guys for watching. Please stay tuned.
And of course, don't forget to like, subscribe, share this video with people it might be relevant to, whether you're a skier, outdoorsman. It is relevant to us locals and people beyond. So, yeah, check out Salida Gun Shop and Ski Monarch.
Thanks.